Hello, and welcome to the Libri Labra Book Club. This month, which is really last month, for the month of August, we read Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, and we're going to jump into that in just a second. I am joined today by my husband, BookTube hubby, John Henry, and book club VIP member, Tom. And before we begin, just wanted to let you know, if you ever want to join us on screen during the discussions, you can do that by becoming a book club VIP member on Patreon. And so that's patreon.com/Libri Labra. And there's a few different perks that include getting a custom bookmark, priority commenting replies on YouTube, getting some behind the scenes stuff, photos, voting for a book that you want me to review. So even if you're not ready to kind of sign up, feel free to go over there and just kind of follow and interact or anything like that. So this was a pick from Tom.
Mm-hmm.
I guess just let us know what made you select Hamnet.
I wanted to read it pretty much. And I cheated apparently, because this came out in 2020. Bad me, but I swear I looked at Amazon before I picked my three choices, and it was listed as doing not worth it. So it's like, oh, okay, well then it must be this year.
Maybe the paperback is coming out soon.
I don't know.
Yeah,
that would qualify it, though, I would think.
No, it works.
Yeah, because if you're waiting for the paperback, you couldn't read it before. Now you can. True. So therefore, that's a new. Anyway, but that's why I heard good things about it, and I always like Shakespeare related stuff, and I could not help but think of Shakespeare in Love while reading this, but we'll get into that in the discussion.
I couldn't not think of that either. I feel so like I feel like I know nobody who's seen that. I just feel like, have you seen Shakespeare in Love?
I think you made me watch it early.
You made
it. No, there's no way.
You made it.
Make you watch.
No, that actually it sounds familiar. Like I feel like we've gone.
When you see the opening, you'll say, oh, and then
Is it? Am I mistaken, or is the guy who's in The Handmaid's Tale? Didn't he play the main character in Shakespeare in Love?
Ralph Fiennes.
I don't know his name, but
I think
the guy who's the commander. The commander.
Well,
what's his name?
I can look it up, but straight.
So, okay. So, what were your initial thoughts?
I mean, I've never been exposed to Shakespearean literature or anything like that.
You haven't read any
like
in high school or
nobody's
anything?
ever pushed me to read Shakespeare like ever.
School.
Correct. We always read other crap. So
wait a minute, hold on. What do you mean other crap?
I don't even know the name of the book that I could tell you.
You told me that you read that book that we read, the Scarlet Letter in school.
Yeah, that's not crap, but I mean, like they shoveled specific things to you, but
which was not.
I didn't take any drama or anything like that, and in high school I didn't do any of that stuff. I as much as I am into the acting scene now, I've never been exposed to it in the past. It's Shakespearean stuff has always been like daunting to me. So I'm like, well, I'm never gonna understand what they're saying. So why am I gonna? I'm not gonna. But now I know that now I can listen to it and hold on to the information easier. I now know my skills. Going into this, I was very interested, and I'm now more curious in Shakespearean literature and more than I used to be. So
this was kind of I had already purchased the book. It was on my TBR because I had seen somebody else review it and talk about how well it was written, and I was just kind of fascinated that we don't have that much history, like not much of a paper trail in regards to Shakespeare's life, and that she kind of decided to develop this story. I thought that was intriguing. Right. I loved the writing. I think it was very emotional, although the third person I kind of feel like puts a little bit of space between me and the story. And I had a little bit of trouble with the time jumping because there was nothing that like really tells you that the time was jumping. Like, you just kind of have to figure it out based on the characters involved and the age of the characters and stuff like that, which I thought was a little bit confusing, especially since I listened to a lot of it audibly. But I kept looking to see, like, is it going to tell me? Are we back in time? Like, what's going on?
You just really have to pay attention to context.
Yeah. So, but, you know, outside of that, I really enjoyed it. And as soon as I finished it yesterday, I was like, well, I want to read Hamlet now. That's not something I read in school. I think we were more focused on like Romeo and Juliet. And I'm pretty sure I read Macbeth, although I don't remember anything about it. So I have 2 No Fear Shakespeare books, which like give you the original text and then like it kind of modernized English versions of it. And I have that for Romeo and Juliet and for Othello. And I'm thinking I'll probably get it for Hamlet and maybe Macbeth as well. But okay, at this point, I guess we can jump into spoiler territory. Tom, since this is your pick, I'll let you kind of lead the discussion.
Okay, so spoilers are now allowed, is that correct?
Yes, we are in spoiler territory. If you have not read Hamnet, please, you know, click off the video, go check it out, go read it. It's a really good book, and then come back and watch the discussion.
Honestly, I mean, you know, once I got into the book, it's like, okay, maybe having the death of a child in a pandemic probably wasn't the best book to read at this point in time. But unfortunately. But that said, you know, it's the kind of thing where, you know, as you know, I read, you know, the Kindle ebook as well as listen to it. So, you know, it's the kind of thing where I would sit down, and, you know, I'm engrossed in the story and such. It's like, nothing has really happened, but 2 hours have passed somehow. And it's like, oh, you know, what just happened here? But it is very, very well written. And basically what it is it tells the story of Anne. I think is it Hathaway?
It is Hathaway.
Yeah.
It's Anne. Yeah.
Anne Hathaway, who eventually became Mrs. Shakespeare. Shakespeare himself is not referenced directly in the novel.
No.
You know, she never says his name at all.
The name of the man is never said.
Yeah, not even his first name, nothing.
Yeah.
She's like, he called his name multiple times, but or he was the Latin tutor, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, the book opens with the title character, Hamnet, one of a pair of twins that Will and Anne have had. And Hamnet is desperately trying to find an adult to minister to his twin sister, Judith, who is lying in bed with a fever, as far as we know. And it eventually develops, like, when they start making buboes, it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
This has to be the bubonic plague. So, and that's the way it opens, and, you know, take it from there. So
what do you think about the fact that she doesn't mention William Shakespeare's name anywhere?
I can see why she does, because, you know, all I'm sure, like, the tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of books written about Shakespeare, how many have been written about his wife?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So, which I totally get, and it is irritating in parts, but, you know, I can see why she did it. So, you know, and we also learn, you know, what Will's home life was like in some vignettes with his father John. You know, he apparently abused the kid. You know, him and his brothers, especially Will, from what I understand. You know, so. And it's interesting that he did that William did not do that to his kids. You know, 'cause usually it's inherited, and it's like, you know, well, I learned it from you, and then I pass it down.
Right.
So, but they also have the other, their initial firstborn daughter, Susanna, lest we forget her.
Yeah.
So.
I understand that, like, you know, a lot of it is about Hamnet, but I felt like I wanted to see more of him even before.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why it wasn't just called like Agnes or something like that, since it seems like so much of it was from her perspective and her life and her feelings, and
everything is affected by his death, though.
Yes.
literally everything. Like the
Mhm.
entire story, like what she chases her husband down to figure out why he would write a play with her son's name in it if her son doesn't exist. And there was a lot of feelings in there that was thrown back and forth, and it all centers around Hamnet. So I do understand
Mhm.
that, but the book really is about her.
Mhm.
And I don't think it was like, I mean, it must have been mentioned, I'm sure, at some point, but it wasn't really super clear to me till closer to the end. And when I started doing my own research, that Agnes was like significantly older than William. I don't know how I missed that, or maybe it just didn't seem like
I
it.
don't think it was expressed in this book though. Like there was that kind of age difference between them.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the way they were painted, they always felt like equals,
like children who grew up together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Nah.
Not quite. I think I said Anne Hathaway. It's Agnes Hathaway, obviously. But
well, they explained
name
at
was
the beginning.
yeah,
they explained at the beginning that she preferred
Okay, yeah.
Agnes over Anne.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But Anne was her name.
Yeah. And they make a point to show, which I liked. It was, she's like the free spirit. She's went out, and so in fact, when she goes to have Susanna, she's like, "I'm going to go out in the woods and have her myself." And it's like, okay,
my mind. I mean, I understand back then it's not like they had the same medical technology and medicines that we have today. But just the idea of being like, I'm ready to give birth, let me go into the woods. Like, that was a little bit hard to process.
It's just back then it didn't matter where you had a kid, where you had the same chances of living or dying no matter what. So
she didn't feel that way though.
She probably had better chances out there.
Because when it came time for the twins to be born, which she wasn't really aware that were twins, she was in a state of panic that they were like, lay in the bed, let us help you. And she was like, I just want to be in the woods. I just want to be in the woods. So it seemed like part of her issue was that she felt like she wanted to deliver standing up for gravity purposes. I don't know why we don't make people deliver like that now. I don't know.
Pain,
but
epidurals don't work that way.
I thought that, and this is kind of random, but I thought that Joan was kind of an interesting character, or seeing Joan through the lens of Agnes and how Agnes described her and how much she disliked her. Because I kind of felt like, all right, she grew up with Joan, and then, you find out that Agnes is pregnant, and she kind of behaves a certain way. And I thought that was going to be the end of her, but the fact that she still comes back towards the end to make trouble and be miserable.
Yes. Yeah, she's not exactly the evil stepmother. She's just the miserable stepmother. It's like, she's not happy unless people are unhappy.
Yeah, I thought the conversation between Agnes and her brother Bartholomew about redoing the hall or whatever the case was fairly insightful.
Yeah, and how to approach it with Joan.
Yeah. I also think one of the things that the author did really well is show the family dynamics as the kids grew up, because she makes it obvious that Susanna takes after her father, with the business such, and then the two twins they pretty much take after Agnes. Particularly Judith.
Right, with the kids and stuff.
Yeah, with the kids, and with her, when she was out in the night, searching for Hamnet's ghost, I guess. So. Also, too, it's it was interesting also that because of Judith's health, they could not move from Stratford. Like, well, they obviously, send everybody to London. That's, we can't, because Judith wouldn't survive. So.
Right. I didn't even think of it that way. I don't know why.
Plus, also Shakespeare apparently is a success in his own time because he buys the bigger house, and
Right.
he's judged very finely now when he comes back to Stratford. So, very interesting.
There was, and they mention it about every time he came back, how she needed a few days for him to get the theater off of him or whatever
Yes.
the case was.
Uh-huh.
And so that first time that he comes back and he gives her the bracelet, she says something about like she can feel like animal paws all over him, or
Yes.
the women,
the women's touches.
Yeah, the women's touches. But like, I don't know if it was just me, but like it sounded like she was trying to say that he was cheating on her.
Yes.
But I was like, but if he's doing theater,
right,
is it acting?
Right.
Like
that's
like,
what, because his heart was still with her, and that's the reason why that part with her saying like, well, whoever touched this is angry at me. Whoever wanted to hurt me, and it's because like someone else has his heart. They can't have his heart.
Mm-hmm.
It belongs to her. So the person who he's been around, or whatever actresses that he's been around that he has, they have fallen for him, but they can't have him. So they're angry at her for that.
Except that we didn't have actresses in that time. All the female parts were played by younger boys.
Oops.
okay.
So.
Well, that explains that, I guess.
So no, it wasn't an actress.
I had hope.
No, he was a cheater.
Yes, but for that though, I mean, I think one of the best parts of the story I thought was when, I just decided to go to London because I was like, oh my God, what a great opening up of the story, and when she gets to his place, it's like a dingy, like one room, and all he really does there is write, and that's it.
I think that's what made me feel like, oh, well, maybe he wasn't cheating.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so what is it? The revelry, the parties after the play?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what that is, basically?
I guess. I mean, he was going out all the time.
There's always after parties and such for theater stuff. Yeah, so he would be expected to be there, being the playwright and the director apparently. So.
I just can't imagine. I know that he provided for his family, but I can't imagine only seeing them 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like how time would just I mean, like, what's the point of even being married at that point?
Well, it's not actually clear as to whether that's due to just being a playwright and a director, or if that's because of him, because he has to be like, I need to control this and I need to be, on scene and such. So, but he's apparently very, and within reason that, if he doesn't keep writing plays, they're going to get somebody else, and he'll fade out.
Yeah, they did explain the cutthroat
nature.
That's it. That's the word. I guess the nature of theater.
Mm-hmm.
Other playhouses end up taking your money.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and only too willing to spread the plague in your theater as opposed to theirs, sort of a thing. So,
and that too, like having to send a letter to London or whatever to be like, hey, Judith is sick, and then like who knows how long it took him to get the letter and then come home.
Which brings to mind one chapter I think I could have done without was it interesting.
Was it the fleet?
Yes, it's like I get it, but it's like it's not really necessary, Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I felt like it was a little bit necessary for me.
She learned something.
Like no, I was like, wait, are we serious? Like people, that's how it was spread is fleas. Like not even one person giving it to the other. It was like I don't know. That was a little mind blowing.
Like mosquitoes with
malaria.
Consider
like the amount of fleas that were around and diseased, and I mean I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know how many people died during the Black Death, but wasn't it like
it was millions?
It was a lot. Yeah. Wasn't it like the biggest plague?
More than 2? No.
So The other thing that was kind of interesting was like I was on TikTok the other day, and I think I was on Twitter, but someone shared a TikTok where, with everything that's going on right now and people not wanting to get vaccinated and not wanting to mask up and stuff like that, somebody made a TikTok that was saying, do you know what we used to do back in the day?
Mm-hmm.
Like they would put a big X on your house and everybody in your house would be stuck in there, and that's it. Like we weren't gonna let people keep spreading the disease this way and that way. And so she kind of just explained a lot of different things of how we used to deal with plagues and how people would just get thrown overboard off ships and like all these, obviously things that we're not doing now. But so to then kind of visit that so closely in that chapter or in this book, I thought was interesting.
But no, they're not even trying to save you. They're just like,
no,
don't
like,
touch this house. Everybody get away and leave them alone. They're just like, these people are done. We're out.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
There's a short German film, but which ironically is narrated by Kenneth Branagh, about the plague. I wish I'll have to find it and I'll put it in the chat. But it's very, very good. So, not the happiest film you'll see, but it's very, very well done. So, but I also think, going back to the plague, she kind of references the fact that London Bridges is about the bubonic plague. As Agnes was going over the bridge, as she mentioned, the bodies hanging from from London Bridge. London Bridge is falling down because there's so many bodies, I guess, on it.
I didn't put all that together. I was trying to figure out, because I know Bartholomew was like, don't look, and I was like, what are we not looking at? And I thought maybe it was just like a bunch of little sick children or something. I couldn't process exactly what was happening in that scene.
Yeah, they were apparently going over London Bridge, and that's
No.
Well, how does it go? London Bridge is falling down.
Something about My Fair Lady.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. I think posies were part of it. But yeah, that the whole song is about the plague. So I thought, way to put that in there without actually referencing it. Well done. So.
Oh my.
Are you reading the lyrics?
London Bridge is falling down. Okay. Build it up with iron bars, iron bars, iron bars. Build it up with iron bars. Iron bars will bend and break, bend and break, bend and build it up with gold and silver, gold and silver. London Bridge is falling down. My Fair Lady. That's it. But build it up with iron bars?
The bars that they would use to hang the bodies from.
That's what I'm saying. What?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's how widespread it was. Plus, and I only know this from Shakespeare in Love, is that the master of the revels would be forced to close the theaters because the plague got so bad. And they also reference that in the book as well. So
this is interesting. Operation London Bridge is its code name. Is a plan for what will happen in the UK after the death of the Queen.
Okay.
That's what that says. It says it includes planning for the announcement of her death, the period of official mourning, and the details of her state funeral. So the idea of London Bridge is falling down, I don't think that's the same.
Oh, that's what it was. Ring Around the Rosie. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's that one.
Yeah, that's that one.
That's
Yeah,
the Black
right.
Death one, right?
Yeah, that's also
pocket full of posies, ashes.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Which makes me wonder if I made up the one about London Bridges, but I don't think I don't think I did.
No, it was, what is it called? The Mandela effect.
No.
It's a memory just got crossed.
Yeah. So do look that up before you before referencing it anywhere. But
actually, from what I understood, a lot of the grim tales and nursery rhymes are all from really dark stories. It's not really meant for kids. But we sing them the nursery rhymes all the time. When they're jumping rope, they're singing death songs.
Oh yeah, I mean, Disney is doing us a disservice, because a lot of if you read the original Grimm fairy tales, there's some way out stuff on there. Yeah. So, but at any rate, back to the present book. I was wondering how it was going to tie in. Like, how does it end? Again, I remember from Shakespeare in Love, Viola de Lesseps asks the Queen, how does this end? And she says, with tears and a long journey. And, well, we reversed it here, but still it's the same thing. Agnes goes to London. She actually sees Hamlet, and it's like, how is this going to map to her son? And it was so great that, she watches her husband act, and he's acting out him, his son. And that was just like such a private moment between the two of them. It's like they know the significance of it. Nobody else does.
Right.
I thought that was my favorite part of the book. So.
Oh, because you got the boy to act exactly like Hamlet would have been. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree.
Because Hamlet, if I recall correctly, that was about Hamlet's uncle kills
His
Hamlet's father. Yeah, his brother.
Yeah, marries his mother.
And marries his mother. Yeah. So I was like, how does that? It's like, oh, okay. Well, I get it now. But
and the story is mostly about him actually dealing with the going back and forth at when or how he should dispatch his uncle.
Mm-hmm. Should he do it?
Right. So it's interesting. It's a morality play.
I didn't fully grasp why because apparently that's a different story. Like he took a different story and then wove in Hamnet into there. And I don't think I understood why he took Hamnet and stuck him in that story.
That was actually it was an attempt to explain it when she was actually watching her play. It's the idea that she realized that he was putting himself, that he really wished that he can put himself in the place of his son, that he can die instead of his son.
Yeah.
So the idea that he wanted his son to have a life in that play that he wouldn't have had otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Also, too, Hamlet has, the plays a thing in which to catch the conscience of the king, because Hamlet's dithering as to whether he should take his revenge on Claudius or not. So it says, I know, I'll write a play which acts out basically what he did. And if he, has a reaction to it, I'll know he did it. And that's, so I thought that was good that they used the play to show, the true nature of the thing behind the story, I guess. That, Will wishes that he would have been taken by the plague instead of his son.
But why wouldn't he have written to Agnes to tell her he was going to do that? He just
afraid of her saying no, don't do it.
Maybe, yeah. Plus, it didn't sound like he really kept them up to date on what actually he was writing.
Right. Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh, and I'm writing, this and this and this, and this is what's happening.
She would understand the plays and what he was doing and why he would be doing it.
Hmm. So.
I mean, but to have to hear it from Joan. Because literally Joan just showed up to deliver it.
Not the best source, but
you must already know. But I brought the program just in case.
Yeah.
I don't have one.
Dude.
Yeah, and we know you can't read, but hey. So, but Susanna, I think, was the one who translated it for her. So.
I thought it was kind of unfortunate that I know Susanna took upon a lot of responsibility and kind of learning to read and manage the properties and do all this stuff for her dad, but
she is the oldest after all.
Yeah, but she just seemed so not happy about her own family.
Yeah. Well,
which I thought was unfortunate, because she was just these half-wits. Why am I surrounded by these people?
Well, and I thought that's one of the great parts of the story is that, she says, how am I going to get a good husband when I'm really to these?
Shows that he got that she got his smarts out of the deal. So,
plus, keep in mind, it's never exactly said why, I don't think. But Shakespeare's father is in disgrace. He used to be I guess a man of high standing in Stratford, but he did something with the wool. Like it sounded like he hid it and then like made it was lost or something. Like he's saving it for something, but his standing is not what it used to be in the town. So that's part of it too.
I don't know. It just felt weird to me because I feel like, yeah, you can have family and you may not agree with everything they do or, all that they are, but I feel like there's still a sense of family. Like you're caring for them, you're living with them, you're functioning as a unit. Like she just seems so like not
above them.
Yeah, I don't know. It just
pretentious.
Well, she could be also resentful, of having to take care of the two of them. It's like they apparently can't do it all of it themselves, because they're off in like dreamland, whatever. So, and it's just a difference in temperament too. And it's like I don't understand how you can function in this world. And it's it's like, how is it that you go out into the woods and to have a baby, and it's like, how is it that you do not? It's like that's what we're dealing with here. So, and that's an extent to Mary is that way, and so is Joan to a certain extent. But Mary is like, I'm sorry, Agnes is on the other side of that. It's like I'm going to do it all my way.
Exactly opposite side. Yes.
Yeah. So.
I guess, our times are so different. I can't imagine. I know that there's people that can't read and there's stuff like that, but just the fact that someone would be totally okay. Like so much of life involves reading, whether it's like stuff on TV or ads or signs or like, I just.
Not if they would get by without ever having to look at them.
Yeah.
That's just intense to me that someone would be like, your daughter gave up on trying to read and she's just like, meh, she's got other good traits.
yeah, but it also too the bar was rather lower for females at the time too. So because if they were getting education, it was to be how to be a successful wife, or house manager, if anything. So.
I think we were just this past weekend I rewatched Bridgerton, and I know one of the girls in Bridgerton was reading and her mother was like, put that book down, you'll confuse your thoughts.
So, exactly. God, you read Jane Austen, it's all over, that sort of a thing. But one of the other parts I liked was how Agnes comes to live with the Shakespeares, and they don't, obviously the in-laws don't like her and she's not too keen on them. But there's the one scene where, being a farmer's daughter, she gets up and she like gets shit done and everything's like done by the time they get up. It's like, I guess Mary says, okay, maybe she can stay.
But like Mary said that she was also a farmer's daughter, because I think Mary was like complaining about Agnes and John was like, leave the girl be. Just like,
yeah.
He was like, she's from the country, blah, blah, blah.
But it doesn't sound like it's the same thing. I mean, Mary's been living in Stratford for such a long time now. I mean, that's like a distant memory. So the habits of a farmer's daughter were not, I guess, with her at the time like they were with Mary. She had just come from that life. So.
Yeah. I feel like I didn't quite understand what happened between Hamnet and Judith, or what the explanation for that was.
I will go ahead and wrap that into the same thing with her animal magnetism and the mysticism that was actually put in the book. There's 3 or 4 things that can only be explained by a little bit of woo-doo-loo. You know what I'm saying? So it does have some mysticism in there. It's like magic, or it's just the idea of him willing the disease to him or something like that,
Mm-hmm. Which is an interesting counterpoint to, at the end of the book, his father says, oh, I wish you could have taken me instead of you. But earlier we see that Hamnet does, he manages that sacrifice.
But why do you think the author chose to write the story that way? Why not from the beginning just have made it Hamnet that got sick? Like, why insert that little piece of magic?
Well, but we don't know that it's magic, though. That's the thing.
I mean, but
right. And then you also have you're taking away you're taking a little piece of Hamnet's character.
Yes, and the bond that he shares with Judith, because being twins. Because throughout the book they say, "Oh yeah, we always used to change." Oh, I'm this one and not that.
So maybe the author is trying to speak to that twin bond rather than the fraternal bond. Because if there was a way for them for him to swap, he would have, but he didn't know what was happening. But Hamnet did.
Okay, but my brain is like really hard trying to logically make sense of what could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did the flea jump off Judith and then she just happened to get better? Why are you looking at me like that?
I
want explanations. That's what I want.
You want logic in a place where you were always like, don't listen to logic.
No, but I mean, logic. Tom just said we don't know that it's magic.
Yeah, we don't.
So,
I mean, it seems like it, but because of the course of events, like makes it lead you to believe that. Like, how is it that suddenly Judith's fever breaks and she is fine from the thing that should have killed her, and all of a sudden, Hamnet has it? Well, they were sleeping in the same bed, and he's wearing her clothes, so that's probably how he got it. But it's just is it coincidence, or is there correlation or causation here? We don't know.
If we weren't in their heads in certain chapters, I would have thought that they had their kids confused to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
If we weren't in, like, if the author didn't write in like areas where like we're hearing the like Hamnet and his thoughts,
mm-hmm.
if that didn't happen, I would have assumed that nobody knew that which kid was actually sick.
Mm-hmm. Which at the end, that was true. Even the mom couldn't tell that it was Hamnet in Judith's clothes. So,
right.
Until it took a while for her to say, "Oh my God, that's Hamnet."
And what's to say Hamnet didn't actually have that idea, like at the beginning of her illness, and we don't know what order we read those chapters in.
Mm-hmm.
I just screwed everything up.
Yeah, but the way it's presented, there is a certain chronology,
Right. So I'm saying, like, it seems like it's just a little. He asked God, it worked, or
mm-hmm.
It was some little will magic. I don't know.
I couldn't help but think of Terry Pratchett reading that chapter with death. That's like how he faked out death, and it's like, haha,
Oh my God! Can you imagine if he read that and was like, "All right, I'm going to read a response."
So, but and that was the thing. It's like two bodies, one soul, and that's what I think the author was trying to get across. And they really, even the parents couldn't tell them apart in certain situations. Now, granted, what.
No, so because it's mentioned multiple times that she knew that there's only room for one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
she's supposed to have two kids.
Somebody was going to die. It just didn't matter which.
Yeah, and based on health, you would think that would be Judith, but apparently not.
But see, like, I don't understand how there was so much confusion when I feel like they said multiple times that she was like tinier than Hamnet.
Yes, and she's in frail health. Yes.
So, how little are you looking at your kid that you're confusing them when it sounds like there's such big differences between them?
Well, apparently they were good enough to hoodwink death too. So
yes,
you can't blame the parents then anyway. If they actually
they had a bit on their minds too at the time, to be fair. But no, they mentioned that's the game throughout the book that they would do that. So, but was it Hamnet that came out first? I think.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah, because they were like, "It's a boy," and she thought that was it, that it was done, and then
and then a stillborn came out, but then she would took reviver.
Right.
But so Hamnet gave up himself for his sister to have a life.
Right.
And learning that that temperament came from his father, because his father would have done the same thing, but didn't have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So he wrote it into his play.
Mm-hmm. Desiree's not buying it, I don't think.
She don't like magic.
I'm trying not to think too much about Hamnet's death because I think that chapter was like the saddest part in the whole book.
Oh.
Like I didn't find the last chapter to be quite as impactful as a lot of other people, I think.
Oh, really? Oh, I did. I thought it was great.
When she was reading
ending.
when Hamlet was climbing into bed with Judith, she was like, "Don't you dare tell me both of them died."
But again, throughout the book, she telegraphs and says, yeah, she's supposed to have 2 kids, but she has 3. Well, 3 is not 2, so what has to happen?
She was like super Agnes. Agnes was super upset at herself for not having seen how it was going to go. Like kind of knowing, but not expecting the actual turn of events.
On top of being a potion woman, who that's what she does. She helps people, with their medical problems, and I guess their mental and spiritual problems as well. But this is one thing she cannot alleviate, unfortunately. It's like Superman, all these powers, and I couldn't even save him. So I really enjoyed the book, though. I mean,
I did too.
You didn't get to read the notes at the end. Did you read the notes at the end?
I did.
Yeah.
They actually had it in the audiobook. I was like, oh, well done.
Oh, it wasn't in my audiobook.
Really?
Well, mine had like maps and stuff. It had maps and
I try to remember from what the book I read did.
It had maps and pictures of like the death registry and the birth registry.
Oh.
I didn't see any of that.
Well, you wouldn't have because you were listening, but like, there was like a minor note that may have been included in the audiobook, but then there was an explanation of why she chose to write this book and her experience going to the Shakespeare house.
Yes.
And so there's pictures of the Shakespeare house.
And that's where it happened.
That looked like.
Oh, wow. You wanna show the world?
Show the audience, yeah.
Let me see.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah,
that's cool.
But it was just interesting to hear from her how in awe she was standing in the house. I think she said that she kept trying to write this book, but she would procrastinate by writing other books. So while she was working on this one, she wrote 3 other books. So as long as she was still writing books, she felt like she could be like, okay, whatever. And she didn't know where to start the story, and then finally realized she wanted to start the story from Hamnet's perspective with what was going on with him rushing down the stairs, and that she was going to write in that he fell onto the floor. But when she realized she couldn't describe the floor because she didn't know what kind of floor they would have had back then, that like stopped her story. And so that's what made her go to the Shakespeare house, because she wanted to
crazy.
She wanted to see what kind of floors they had.
Brilliant, perfect, but in order to have the resources to do that, it's great. And
right.
Stuff in.
And then she said she like took so many pictures, and she drew a map of the house, and she was asking the people there a billion questions, and then eventually she was like, they're flagship stones. I think is what she was saying. And so she was like, if he had fallen there, that wouldn't really hurt. But it was just a lot that went into the story. But it's strange because it seems like we know so little, yet that house is so well preserved and still stands. And like, why is it that we know so little about his life that she had to make up so much of it? Like, why is there no... We have records and history of stuff that happened before that. So why is his life so like a big hole?
Because all he wrote were plays, not diaries. So chances are a lot of his life is written in those plays.
I mean, unless a lot of stuff just got destroyed for plague reasons.
That too.
Well, I'm not sure how much biographies were a thing back then. You know, I don't know if that was as common as they are now. So, you know, how likely would it be for someone to read the life of someone else who actually existed? You know, I don't know what the answer is. So, but it's interesting that she makes up the pivotal event in the sense that, well, she doesn't make it up, but she provides the reason for it. Because we know that Hamnet died as a child. We don't know how or why.
Right.
So she said, okay, this.
I think that was actually brought up. Then that's something that you pointed out or sent me something that somebody was talking about how that he didn't write anything about the Black Death in any of his work, but it was around during that time. But we think that he didn't write anything
because
about it
he didn't want to revisit that. He didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like if that's the reason why you lose your son, you don't want to be, you know, that's unless that's a lot of people
He
actually
just
end up
avoided
writing
that.
about those things, but
Yes.
he gave his son a completely different life as if that stuff never even happened. So I'm very curious now more about Shakespeare stuff.
But
I got a teacher at the improv at the comedy club. He teaches at Rollins and he teaches Shakespearean acting, and I can't understand him half the time. So I'm afraid I want to learn. I want to be able to understand him. So that's kind of part of it.
well, I mean, as you saw on our Facebook chat, I had mentioned that This American Life had an episode called Act 5 where, you know, the prisoners in one of the, I forget which incarceration center or jail were doing Act 5 of Hamlet. They had done all the other 4 acts over the years, but then they're doing the final act. And it was interesting to get in, you know, I think they say it in the podcast that, it's one thing, to see the play as somebody, but it's another thing to see or be in the play, having taken a life yourself. You know what the character's going through. And I forget which prisoner said it. It's like, if this is in prison, there would be no question. Hamlet would have to take down Claudius. So.
Yeah, there would have been no thoughts, no ifs, ands, or buts, no quandaries, no worries, no.
Mm-hmm.
But
Also,
I absolutely loved that, by the way. The Act 5 done by the prisoners. Yeah, that's brilliant. Like so much of that was great.
Yep.
Go ahead.
What a legacy that the director left too, because it's still going today as far as I know. But I think with Elizabethan English, I think it's like anything, the more you're exposed to it, the more you'll understand it without having to go, oh my God, what's this for? Done. So.
Well, considering a good 10 to 15% of the games that they play at Improv has Shakespearean
well, there you go.
Tempo to it, I would like to end up learning as much as I could anyway. But
we'll go to a lot of Renaissance fairs.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, you listen to. Shakespeare in Love did a really good job, I think, of showcasing some of the writing, which is absolutely gorgeous. Like, how did one man? And there's did Shakespeare really write all of the plays? Maybe, maybe not, but they're exceedingly well written. So,
the fact that that's even a thing that's like.
We're not completely certain.
Yeah. Like I read a romance that revolved around a Ren fair, and that was like a point of discussion between the two romance people. One was like he didn't write it, and the other one was like yes he did. And they would like argue about whether or not William Shakespeare wrote his stuff or not.
Right. Well, a couple maybe these are heresies, but I'm not sure. But going to go anyway. I think with Shakespeare's, well, any plays, not just Shakespeare's, I think seeing them is just as good, if not better, because that's why they were meant to be experienced,
right?
Rather than just reading it yourself. So,
Yeah, we started listening to the
Hamlet yesterday.
Fear Shakespeare.
No Fear Shakespeare.
No Fear Shakespeare. Okay, yeah, No
Mhm.
Fear Shakespeare. And I was like we got like 5 minutes into it. I was like, nah, I want to watch this. I want
Yeah.
to see this. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I have to see what's like. There's more going on in the scene than what I can.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
And they were
So-
using full cast and sound effects and stuff like that, but
the sound effects
So-
were ridiculous. Just so you know.
Well, I mean, what would they have had back then? It's not like Dolby.
Dude, banging on a
Yeah,
track.
Dolby Atmos. Where's the chicken? No. The other thing is, there's also novels have been made of the two plays, Hamlet and Macbeth, and they're both pretty good. So, if that's of interest, of course, you lose Shakespearean writing, but you get the gist of it without having to,
what happens? Yeah.
slog through all that Elizabethan English.
It'd be a great place to start.
Yes. So. So, what? Any other, I guess, thoughts about this book?
I do have to start cooking. So
Um,
It sounds like we're wrapping up.
final thoughts.
yeah, that's what he was trying to get.
Yeah.
Final thoughts were just that I really enjoyed it, and I would be willing to check out some more of
Mhm.
her work. Although I am hoping maybe if there is time jumping, it's a little clearer, because I feel like
Mhm.
it's just something that I had a little bit of trouble with at some points. But it seemed like this was such a passion project for her. It was something that she was so
Mhm.
interested in writing, and I think it kind of shows.
Right.
So, what would I give it? I didn't even stop to think about what I would give it. I think I would give it 5 stars.
You think?
5 stars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Final answer?
Yes.
Final answer.
I'm gonna go with the fact that as someone who's been afraid of Shakespearean stories and literature all throughout his life, I think this is a good way for me to put my toe in the water and find out more about the life and situations and what's going on. But I'm definitely going to jump in that pool. But for that, I will give it 5 stars, just because it's if it could do that for me, I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there that could learn a lot more from Shakespearean literature just by starting here. And this isn't even this is fiction. This is something that you can't take too seriously, because we don't know how everything is. But this is a great introduction to his life and to starting with Agnes, because I think that empathy is important.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say really quickly, this is a collector's edition that I got from Waterstones or something like that. So I got it from the UK. But on the cover, it doesn't say what the audiobook cover says, which I was looking at the audiobook, and it was just a story about the plague, I think it says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, wow. The fact that they didn't include it on this cover, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
I thought we were the ones that would be like, oh, don't do that. Don't put that there.
No, I just, a novel of the plague. That's what it says. Just that it was so kind of clearly spelled out on the audiobook. But what are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts? I think, novels like this, especially well-researched ones like this, give us a window into the past, and especially to people who don't usually get the spotlight. Like I said, hundreds of thousands, probably a lot of books written about Shakespeare, not so much about his wife. But, it's like it adds dimension not only to the famous person, but also the people around him and such. So I think that's why I enjoy reading historical fiction. And this one in particular, like I said, it's a very atmospheric book to me. It's not really action driven, but the actions that do take place in it are significant. So, but I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars, but I rounded it down to 4. So, because Goodreads doesn't allow half stars. So here we are.
All right, we'll make sure that half gets there.
Yeah.
So the next book that we are reading was not. I don't have it.
You
I don't have a physical copy. So,
Okay.
but I think it was nominated by you.
Yes.
And it
No,
is-
I think at some point we all nominated it. To be fair.
Made it.
And then finally, this is the time that made it stick.
And so for September, we are reading Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. And John asked me today, he was like, do you even know what it's about? And I was like, no. And he was like, good, don't. So it's a sci-fi.
helps.
That's all I know.
Yeah, there you go.
What it looks like.
It's Andy
Yeah,
Weir.
it's out in space.
release.
Yeah, that's all you need to know.
That's it.
So that's what we'll be reading for September. Again, if you've hung out this long, thank you very much. One more time, if you want to join us on screen during our discussions, you can do that by becoming a book club VIP member at patreon.com/Libri Labra. So thanks for joining us, and see you
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.